We are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country.
So I made my last video in which I was quoting Stealth Jeff from Twitter at the risk of sounding very naive. And I want to make something extremely clear. I understand that the New World Order in the deep state that is has at its deepest roots a very strong sense of self-preservation. And Robert Mueller is an amoral legal assassin, according to our friends at LaRouche. And when I made the video yesterday, citing Stealth Jeff's breadcrumbs that lead us to believe that maybe all of these sealed indictments, by the way, there were 17, now there's 34 sealed indictments in Washington, D.C., and an additional 50 sealed indictments in Eastern Virginia. So we do think something big is happening. But given Robert Mueller's background, and I'll quote from the article, Robert Swan Mueller III, the special prosecutor tasked to take down the President of the United States, is, as his name attests, a product of elite private schools and universities, and he's uniformly and soberly praised in the national news media as incorruptible and fair-minded. In reality, Robert Swan Mueller III is about as corrupt as they come, bending and twisting the law every which way necessary to serve the goals of those who provide him assignments. If you walk through Mueller's career based on what is readily and publicly available, it is a trail of prosecutorial misconduct, including what former Senator Bob Graham calls aggressive deception of the U.S. Congress and the public concerning the events of September 11, 2001, and includes a major role in the creation of the post-9/11 surveillance state, which has eviscerated and destroyed the Fourth Amendment and the rest of our Constitution's Bill of Rights. The reason I'm making this video is that if Stealth Jeff is wrong, and he very well may be, as he's describing sort of a wishful version of 5D chess, and that's not to say Trump isn't playing 5D chess, but it is saying that I think it may be a huge stretch to believe that Robert Mueller has stepped away from the dark side and partnered with Trump in order to take down the Podestas and the Clintons and the corrupt deep state. So, despite everything we know about Uranium One,
Podesta controls ARMZ Uranium Holding Company. That's why I'm naming Podesta Group. That's why I'm naming ARMZ. That's why I'm naming the DNC. That's why I'm naming the Iwan spy ring. That's why I'm naming Hillary for America.
Despite everything we know about Fusion GPS turning over 7,500 blank documents, the admissions from Donna Brazil that the entire primary was rigged for Hillary Clinton, who had an agreement in writing before she was even the nominee.
This Victory Fund agreement, Brazil notes, had been signed in August 2015, just 4 months after Hillary announced her candidacy, and nearly a year before she officially had the nomination.
Now that Donna Brazil has come forward and said, hey, there was this HFA agreement that was signed on August the 26th, now everybody has to change their story. And the great thing about when these admissions come out is hundreds of people now have to change their story from what they've said in public.
And despite Imran Awan and Hina Alfi moving up their hearing to November 17th in order to make a plea agreement, despite all of this corruption, if those sealed indictments don't reflect the criminality of the Podesta, Clinton, and Obama crime cartel that I've just described, then we all should be marching in the streets and demanding the resignation of Robert Mueller.
We are at risk of a coup d'etat in this country if we allow an unaccountable person with no oversight to undermine the duly elected president of the United States. And I would offer that is precisely what is happening right now with the indisputable conflicts of interest that are present with Mr. Mueller and others at the Department of Justice. I join my colleague, the gentleman from Arizona, in calling for Mr. Mueller's resignation or his firing. Moreover, we absolutely have to see the Department of Justice appoint a special counsel to look into the Clinton Foundation, the Uranium One deal, and the Fusion GPS dossier.
There's so many scandals, we have to separate them. Number one, there's the Uranium One deal. That's treasonous, okay? We have to deal with that. Second, there's the dodgy dossier, which is about Russian disinformation being used to slander Donald Trump. And then, thirdly, there's James Comey using that disinformation to create a special prosecutor trigger that is used to investigate the president. And then lastly, the fourth story is Fusion GPS.
So we had Russian operatives in this country. Our department, Eric Holder knew about it.
Right.
They knew about bribery, kickbacks, extortion, money laundering. I want to know where the money really came from. that went to the Clinton Foundation. I want to know where that money came from.
Here now, Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary under President George W. Bush. He's now Fox News contributor. And Michael Waltz, a former Green Beret commander and former counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. Fascinating to see the shift that is happening here, because under the Obama administration, there was a lot of dialogue happening with the Shia side of the Middle East, with Iran, and they're obviously they are involved with Syria, and a little bit of back turning against Saudi Arabia and the Sunni side of our typical alliances. Colonel Waltz, let me start with you on this. Do you believe what you're seeing?